Ladies and gentlemen, if you're hearing us through your ear holes, guess what? We back.
We back, and we got an amazing guest for you guys today.
That is right. Daniel Robbins is here. That is the one and only
Daniel Robbins.
That's me.
How are you? Thank you for joining us.
I'm good. This music is so fun.
Right?
It's so fun. I feel like I'm in a club.
I know.
It's great.
We just need a strobe light.
Yeah.
I was like, what would get people in the mood?
yeah, it's that.
Saxophone solo.
Oh,
Of course.
big fan of the saxophone.
Big fan of it.
Yeah.
I love it. And thank you for coming. We're so excited to have you. It's
Thanks
been,
for having me.
of course.
When we started this, I was like, okay, we're making a list, like a short list of people we definitely wanted to interview. And I was like, I've seen you perform so many times at Groundlings.
Oh.
And I know you were his teacher for one of, I think, intermediate.
Yeah. No, for
Basic?
beginning. Yeah,
And
basic.
so I was like, oh my God, he's so great.
And just to
so-
provide context for those listening at home, Daniel is not only an actor, but an incredible improvisational actor as well. Improv for short. And then he also does teaching and is directing and just a man
Yeah.
who does it all.
I do a lot. Yeah.
And the impressions.
Yeah,
I've been checking those out.
I just started.
I love
just
it.
started doing impressions.
No way, that's
Crazy.
amazing. What's
Yeah.
your favorite?
I don't know.
The most
I
fun.
just started doing John Mulaney, which is really
Oh, yeah.
fun because he can make anything kind of funny, but it's also I don't know.
Yeah.
It's just like weird, you know.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I love it. He's really fun, and he's sort of like this goober,
Yes, he is.
and he talks with like a sort of 40s radio cadence.
Yes,
And
Tava,
we've seen us
Tava.
do.
yeah, exactly. That's exactly what it is.
I
yeah.
love it. Now, you just started doing impressions, period? Or you just started like posting your impressions?
Sort of. I did like impressions that everyone else did,
Yeah.
you know, but I just started like trying to do my own new versions of things and stuff
Yeah.
like that. So there's a
Nice.
bunch that I have posted that I've never done before. I've never done John Mulaney before. I did Tom Holland. Today I did
Yes.
Tom Hiddleston.
No way, that's awesome.
Who else? Yeah, there's like a few that I'm just like I've never done before, and I have like a list of people I want to do.
Yeah. So do you just
That's
like
awesome.
watch, memorize, and just kind of like,
Pretty much,
Awesome.
yeah. It's just trying to find, I think the body movement, and then also finding sort of the tone of their voice. It doesn't have to
Yeah.
be like their voice, just the tone, and then you can sort of match cadence and body movement. It seems enough like them.
yes.
Yeah.
Oh, I hear people sometimes call it the in. Is that what it is? Like, what's
Yeah.
the in or whatever?
Yeah, it's like I think there's two things with it. I think you have to find the end, which is for me, it's the tone of their
Yeah.
voice or the register that they speak in, and then I think you have to find like the hook. Like, what's the thing that like you can keep coming back to that like
Yeah.
everyone like for Owen
Hammer it home.
Wilson, it's like wow, you know, like
Yeah.
everyone always does that when they do Owen.
Oh my
that's
gosh,
the hook.
he does it
He's
too.
always so amazed by that.
Wow.
Wow.
I can't do it. He does it, and I'm like, oh my gosh.
What's funny is that what I love about celebrity impressions in particular is often they don't really do the thing that we like
No.
focus in on, but for some reason it feels like that
That
is
person.
exactly them.
Yeah, like
It's
my
so
thing
weird.
with Owen Wilson, what I love is when he gets really excited about like a secret.
Yeah.
Where he's like trying to help someone, you know, and he's like, "You can do it," you know, like
Yes,
he
yes.
kind of starts to whisper a little bit. It's like, "Come on,
Yeah.
you can do it," you know, it's like that sort of
Yes,
thing, and it makes
yes.
me laugh so hard.
I love
and
that.
I feel like that's it. He like I've never seen him go, "Wow," you know, but I have seen him do that thing where he's like, "Come on, Jackie, you can do this. You're a stunt guy," you know, he's like,
yes.
like that's like my thing with
We
him.
just
That's
watched
awesome.
Wedding Crashers, right?
Yeah. I saw it for the first time.
Oh, really?
Well,
I'd
I
never
hadn't.
seen
He
it.
had, but
Oh,
it was just funny watching him because he's crazy.
It's so good.
He's so good.
I
love
love
that.
Fisher in that movie.
Oh gosh, she's
Is
amazing.
Next
Unreal.
level. She's next level.
She's amazing.
yeah.
Unreal. I wish there was a whole movie dedicated to that character.
There should be like a revisited Wedding Crashers with her.
With her following her story. I love
Yeah.
that. So how'd you get into acting and comedy? And I know it's a long road, I'm sure.
I mean, I started doing theater in high school.
And where are you from?
I'm originally from Louisiana.
Okay.
Awesome.
A place called Hammond, which is like a weird little college town that's about 30 minutes away from New Orleans. But I moved to California when I was 12. My parents were divorced, and so it was like a back and forth thing for me. My dad lives in Mississippi. My mom moved out to California because she's a speech pathologist. There's more job opportunities for her out here.
Awesome.
And so we moved out here, and that was like sort of, I think when it started, I started doing like little voices and things like that. I had really thick Southern accent.
Yeah.
And I went to a school that was like predominantly Hispanic, and they.
Where did you come? Where did you move to?
I moved to Ontario, California.
No way, because I'm from 909.
Oh, really?
San Bernardino.
My phone number is 909. Where are you from?
San Bernardino. Well, I was
San Bernardino.
like ghetto fab. Yeah. So
my mom lives in Rancho Cucamonga.
No way.
Yeah. I
was wondering where you.
I went to high school in Chino Hills.
Okay.
I went to Vinedanks Middle School.
No way.
In Ontario, right next to Chaffey High School.
Oh yeah, I went to Chaffey College for like a hot minute.
I went to Chaffey College for 6 months.
I went for like a couple semesters too, and I was like, all right, peace out.
Yeah.
Small world.
Isn't that crazy?
What a small world.
Yeah. So that's
909 represent.
909ers. Yeah.
So you
got
were
in.
there, and then
you said you went to a predominantly Hispanic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I was like teased relentlessly for my Southern accent, and so it went away really fast.
You're like, what accent?
Yeah. And
Then you got like a Spanish
you
accent. You're like,
talking
what are you talking about? And they're like,
there's probably a time where I was trying to learn, but I that's when I have to be funny or else I'm gonna get like teased.
Yeah.
And I think that's when like the humor thing came in. And then in high school I did theater, and I started doing improv actually in high school through the Comedy Sports Club. But
where was that? Was that out here?
that was in Chino Hills.
Oh, they had that in Chino Hills.
Yeah.
Oh.
So it's like
And
that
is it like
thing-
comedy based on sports?
No.
It's all short form improv games.
Okay.
And they set it up to where it's like two teams battling it out, improv
Gotcha.
style.
Yes.
That's
and there's a
funny.
bunch of rules and things like that. We didn't go through the actual organization to do it, which you're supposed to do and pay the dues. Because
Great.
we didn't know. But we like called it that, and
Awesome.
we had shows, and that was like the dawn of improv for me.
Yeah.
And then I kind of just decided I was still in high school, I auditioned for the Groundlings.
Oh, nice. How did you hear about it? Being because probably you were doing improv, so.
I was doing improv, and I had a friend who graduated a few years before me who was, I don't even know the person's name, but he was taking improv classes in Orange County from this person who used to be a groundling. And so it just
Got it.
sort
Wow.
of through the grapevine came to me, and I was like, oh, wow, this is great. And Will Ferrell was like my idol then.
Right.
And I knew that he went there. And I was like, oh, okay, this is my end. This is how I'm going to do it. And so I was 17 at the time. I auditioned for the Groundlings. I lied and said I was 18.
Like, I'm almost 18.
Yeah,
Anyway.
I was like, it's like a couple months. I got in, and that summer is when I started taking classes.
It's awesome.
And that's sort of, it's history from there.
That's so freaking cool. It's so interesting because I grew up in San Bernardino, and it was probably just a different time and just a little. I had zero like access or like even knowledge of anything that had to do with Hollywood. But yet you think, because I would
Yeah.
consider you, even though you weren't born here, you came here at 12.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
mostly
like you're
Californian.
Macy Californian, but it's like when you're it's only a 60-minute drive or
Yeah.
so, and it
Without
never
traffic.
occurred to me like to think Hollywood or acting or comedy or anything until when it was just interesting how
yeah.
And
when
I
I
think
hear-
I think part of it too was that I wasn't from here.
Right.
There was like a sense of when I moved out here that I thought, oh yeah, like this is LA, this is
Yeah.
Hollywood. And I remember having that feeling when I first moved here. I thought everyone surfed. I thought everyone
Right.
was an actor. And so I think maybe that's why that thought was in my head to maybe pursue that a
Right.
little bit more.
it's almost like California is Hollywood.
Yeah.
Like Hollywood,
Yeah.
Los Angeles.
Totally.
And I think not to most people, but to a lot of people who don't live in Southern California or probably California in general, it is like that. You
Right.
know?
Yeah.
And so you fly in and you're for miles traveling 500 miles an hour looking at houses after houses
Yeah.
after houses. And then you get to Hollywood, LA.
Yeah.
It's crazy to see just how many people live in Southern California
It's a lot.
and have nothing to do with acting
Yeah.
or the entertainment biz at all.
It's wild.
I never knew that there was hills here.
Yeah.
I thought it was flat. The only beach that I knew was Pensacola, Florida.
Wait, where are you from?
I'm from Alabama originally.
Oh, okay. Where in
Yeah.
Alabama?
So technically all throughout the South, Florida, Georgia, Alabama, but most of my time was spent in Birmingham, Alabama.
Okay.
Yeah.
I have family in Birmingham.
Really?
Yeah.
So
I have family in Birmingham and Gulf Shores.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I went to Gulf Shores a lot for the beach.
As did we.
Yeah.
We did Biloxi and Gulf Shores.
Oh,
And
my
then-
Meemaw is, her and Biloxi are like this.
Yeah, that's
They're
how like
tight.
you know that you're Southern when you have like grandparent names like Meemaw,
Oh, yes.
Mamaw.
Meemaw and Beepaw.
I have Mimi and Momo.
Yes.
And my Momo is like full-blooded Cajun French.
That's awesome.
And so that's where like Momo came from. It just sounds like that.
Yep.
That's awesome. Yeah, so when I moved here, I was like, it's going to be flat.
Yeah.
And then there was hills everywhere. And I was like, this is beautiful. And then I was like, well, they got that show, The Hills. I should have put it together.
Yeah, but 2 and 2 together.
But I didn't. I was like, all right. One of the first days I got here, I was like, let me go to the beach. I was broke. I was so broke. I was like, I can't afford parking next to the beach. So let me
Right.
park in a neighborhood a couple of miles away. And my friend had some rollerblades. And he was
Nice.
like, let's rollerblade to the beach. And he let me borrow some of his rollerblades. And we rollerbladed. And it was so hilly that I've never crashed as much. I'm not a professional rollerblader. I'm acting as if like
we
that's
thought you were.
my trade,
Listen, that's slash on his resume.
/ rollerblader. And then I crashed like epically in the middle of an intersection on the way
From
to
going
the beach.
downhill or
going
going-
downhill.
Oh, man.
I went uphill and I didn't, think the reverse was going to need to happen.
Yeah.
And then so
Not
I
at
crashed
all.
like early in the trip. And then I had like 20 minutes left of rollerblading to get
the
to the
beach.
beach.
Yeah.
And then to enjoy the beach and then rollerblade back. It was miserable.
What's so interesting about that is I like skated as a kid, which if you like grew up in the 909,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
skate.
Yeah.
That's like the whole plus of living in California is you could just like bomb hills, you
Right.
could, do that, and that stuff doesn't happen. And like in the South, you're lucky if there's a road that's paved.
Exactly.
You're like,
Oh, no.
you're lucky. Like we would have to like walk our boards to like the local school so that we could skate and hope we didn't get kicked out.
Oh gosh.
Wow.
Isn't that crazy?
So you skated before you came out.
I moved out here for 6 months and then moved back to live with my dad in Mississippi. And I lived there for 2 years. And then I moved out here when I was 12.
Awesome.
So from like 10 to 12, I was trying to make it happen in Mississippi.
And you're
I
like,
was
this
like-
ain't
I was
happening.
like, this sucks. This is
I'm
terrible.
going back to Cali. To
Yeah.
Cali.
I'm out. So you get here, you get involved in the Groundlings. The rest is history.
Yeah.
What, in that process, what keeps you going as far as like the pursuit of what your career would look like, or your ultimate goals? What's like the drive in you?
I think for a long time, it was just blind confidence.
Yeah.
Like I know like that sounds terrible, but so much of it was just blind confidence and ignorance and just
Yeah.
like I had no idea.
Like you weren't jaded yet. Like you didn't know too much
Yeah,
about
and
anything. You're like, yeah.
You weren't afraid to ask a question, or
Yeah, and I was
Yeah.
just like, I can do this. Like
Yeah.
I
But you
remember
kind of got to.
Yeah, and I remember hearing when I was like 18 that Eddie Murphy got on SNL when he was 18, and I was like, yeah, I can do that. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
you just
totally.
have this, especially when you're that young, you have this like mentality that everything is possible.
This fearlessness of like, of
Yeah.
course.
So I think it was that for a long time.
yeah,
And then at a certain point, I think it was, I don't know. I think I just kept going. I'd already started,
right.
and then like a little bit of steam started happening, and I was like, okay, there's something to this. And I'll say this: like when I went to Chaffey College for a semester, it was at the same time that I was taking writing lab at the Groundlings.
Oh, really?
And so
Okay.
I did a full semester, and I did okay, and I liked it. And I was thinking, all right, one of three things: I'm going to get a degree in anthropology, and I'll
Awesome.
figure it out from there because I really liked that.
Right.
I might try to become a paramedic because I liked helping people, or let's see how this comedy thing pans
Or I might
out.
just go get on SNL.
And I passed writing lab, and I was like, okay, cool. That's the first thing that happened. I'm just gonna fly with that.
Awesome.
And then
So were you still living there, or did you?
I was still living in Rancho.
Okay, so you're
Cucamonga.
making the commute.
Yeah, I was making the commute for classes, which really wasn't that bad.
No,
because,
it's not as bad as San Bernardino because that was even further east.
Yeah, you're about
versus-
15, 20 more minutes
Yeah.
down the 210. Throwing out some.
I was about the Californians.
So yeah, I would make the commute, but it was only for like 2 classes, and then I moved out here before I took advanced lab.
Okay, because then that requires a lot more.
Yeah, and I had to make that move.
Yeah.
But I had to wait so long in between these classes. They don't have that anymore where you have to wait. You're on a waiting list. I waited 3 years before
No
I could
way.
take
Oh,
advanced
wow.
lab.
So
And I
they did
waited-
away with the waiting list?
There's still a waiting list for advanced lab, but it's not nearly as bad as it was.
So what'd you do in those 3 years that you?
Yeah.
I didn't do a lot. I managed a clearance store at the Ontario Mills Mall for American Eagle Outfitters.
Okay, yes.
I was the clearance manager. It was the worst job. It's like it
Oh my gosh,
sucked.
I've done retail and I'm like, no, thank you.
I'll never do it again. I'll never do retail again. I
would get fired.
Yeah, I'll work in a factory. I don't care. I'll do the same monotonous task over and over and over again instead of working retail.
Right.
Genuinely.
Yeah.
I hear you, man. I worked for Apple for a long time.
Yeah.
And I even went back to Apple. And I the company was great, but the retail aspect, man, it's like it's not worth it.
It's not fun, and I've never been a server, but I know people who are servers and are like, being a server is the worst job. I'm like, no. I think retail is because it's the same like bullshit.
Yeah,
Right. But
totally.
You don't get any tips.
Exactly.
No, you just got to put up with
dealing with
people's
those same
crap.
people.
It's like, take your shitty attitude out of here. I just folded this whole thing and I'm just going to pull one pant and like everything else.
From the
is just-
bottom.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I know. It's like.
Anybody
yeah.
listening, when you go into a retail store, just be nice.
Just-
Refold what you pick up.
Don't
'cause
be
someone's
annoying.
gonna have to do it. Like I feel bad for the people that work at like Ross,
Oh, God.
Oh
I
my
think I would
gosh.
die.
like Nordstrom Rack.
it's
like,
a shit show.
yeah.
Too much.
Too much.
That to me, I've never worked in clothing retail.
Yeah.
But that to me seems like that would be crazy to
Yes.
fold something and then to walk 4 steps over and see all of your work undone.
Yeah, and that's what it was for a long time. Because I was specifically in charge of clearance, which was
Oh
like
gosh.
Oh, God.
that's the first place that people walk to.
Of course.
In an outlet mall.
And then they're like this.
Yeah.
It's like, okay.
They're like not even interested, but the price is there, so they're like,
Yeah,
"Hey,
it's like, it's $3.95 for a tank top.
Let me
I'll
see."
buy it. Yeah.
It's a large, I'm a small, I'll buy it.
Yeah. If it doesn't fit me, I'll give it to someone.
Yeah.
or work out a bit."
But sort of to go back to that question, I did that, and then I also got my first agent at that time. I was
Awesome.
doing a bunch of improv shows in and around LA. I did cage matches at Second City. At IO, they used to have improv cage matches.
Is that similar to the sports?
No, that was more like you would sign up, and then it would be 2, 3, sometimes even 4 teams would go up and they would perform, and it was really just based on how many friends you brought, because at the end
Yeah.
of the night they would vote on teams,
Yeah.
and you get a thing, and you could write down 2 teams.
Gotcha.
And
So
that
you
way
better
it's-
vote for me and then vote for whoever else you want.
Yeah, whoever else you want, and then that way it's like kind of fair,
Right.
because if everyone as the second team writes the other team, then they're gonna win. So I did that, and I did Power Wows, and then that's how I ended up getting my first agent.
Awesome.
And booked a couple commercials doing that,
Nice.
which was great. And then I ended up taking advanced lab, and yeah, that's what I did in between. So to talk about one side of it, I was working retail, and then the other side of it, I was.
You were in
figuring
it. Like
out.
you were still doing
Yeah.
stuff, which is awesome.
I was trying to. If I could go back, I would have done more. But once again, it's that blind ignorance.
Yeah.
Like you don't know what to do.
like, what do you
Exactly.
think that you would have done more in hindsight?
I wish I would have tried to do more theatrical stuff. I wish I would have been more persistent about trying to find a manager at that time.
Okay.
Instead of like just going, oh, I have a commercial agent. I'm going to be on TV. This is great. And then I think just like doing anything, whether it's plays, whether it's, student films, like
Got it.
anything just to like perfect that craft. because I didn't go to a traditional like drama school or something like that, even that would have been great just to like go to a theater school at that point.
Or even because I come from the same background in the sense that when I came, I didn't have like a theater background, or I didn't take drama in high school.
Yeah.
So, it's funny because I would always be like, oh, but they have like a master's in like
From Yale.
theater. Yeah. And it's like Tisch University and NYU. And I'm like, I'm from like Cajon High School and like Chaffee College and San Bernardino Valley College. And I think that, it's whether it's like doing a conservatory or getting into a good scene study class or whatever.
I have a great story about that, by the way.
Let's hear it.
I worked on a show. I'm not going to name any names, but I worked on a show that was for Amazon. So maybe you could like figure it out.
I'm gonna go stock it
There's
out.
20 questions.
There's like a couple shows.
Yes.
That I've ever but one of the actors, before he does a scene with you, he likes to ask where you studied, which is like it's a little jarring and intimidating.
Yeah, it is.
And he would do that with everyone. And this one other actor who was on the show said, I didn't. I was too poor. My parents couldn't afford to send me to a college, and I couldn't afford to go to a college, so I just did it on my own. And he goes, okay. And so like already in that zone, right?
Wow.
So the scene's going, and they're sort of getting into an argument about like, is this scene going to work? Is this scene not going to work? I think it goes this way. I think this is what's happening.
The two actors
are kind of going at it.
Oh my God.
And the director comes over after they do it a couple of times, and he says, I think the guy who didn't have the background and everything, I think he's right. And to the other guy's credit, he was like, I'm so sorry. You were totally right. I was wrong.
Maybe.
Wow.
So that's why, like, that for me, that was the moment where I go, oh yeah, you don't have to have all of that. It's great if you do.
It can help.
Yeah.
Sometimes though, what I did learn,
it will help.
Yeah,
it'll help in one way or another. I felt like
whether it's connections or even just the practice.
Of it.
Yes, exactly.
Sometimes I did find that like with certain schools, because I did go to like a lot of classes out in LA when I moved out here, was that sometimes you'd have to unlearn some of the things that then also you made you, for myself, more either robotic or just more like wanting to get it right.
Yeah.
And so.
But it's true, because everyone has their different thing and their different method or whatever.
Yeah, for sure.
And learning like a little bit and what works for you is really great. I think like William H. Macy came up with his own.
I love it.
Acting,
yes,
right? Isn't that who? It's him and someone else. I can't think of the other person.
think of the other name, but it's interesting when you start to look at those. There's literally something for everyone.
Yeah.
Because like
whatever works for you.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things where you almost got to try it until you figure out what connects with you.
Yeah.
And I look at it a lot like, you can have the best tools in the world, but if you're not like dialing into what you do best.
Oh yeah.
Or you're not figuring out like, how to use those tools, it's not going to leverage you in the way that you think it would, just having that name on the resume.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's one of those things where it's like, just going to that school doesn't necessarily mean it'll make you better. It's what you do with it.
Yeah.
It's the time that you put in.
That's all very true.
It's so true, man. And it's one of those things where being out here, especially starting out, it feels like a rat race. It feels like literally you can do anything and none of it will work, or you can do one thing and that'll be the thing that works.
Yeah.
Or you're going to follow this other person and they went to that school, so let me try that. It's just, there's no direct route to a career here, so it sometimes can feel overwhelming.
Yeah.
Did you end up since then like taking other classes elsewhere? Like
I took a couple other acting classes, one that I really liked, and then I audited some other classes. But overall, it was just sort of recapping on things that I knew.
Yeah. Which I think Groundlings is great for that because it's character.
It's all character based. Right. I wish that there was more on actual acting.
Yeah.
There, because I think a lot of people come out of it and go, "Oh, I can't book anything because I can't be a real person." Right? Because it's like it's characters. Yeah, it's like it's big characters. And then there's other people who can, and they've been able to figure that thing out for themselves. But I do wish that there was just like one class on that, whether it was, a a teacher teaching an off class where it was just, this is the acting.
Like for for on camera or for something.
Yeah, anything. Just like how to take this and bring it into an audition or onto a show or whatever, and not look like a crazy person.
Right.
Which I've been that person in the room. One of my first like big theatrical auditions was for Julie Ashton for like a pilot, and it was for the series regular, and I'd never been for.
You're like, great.
I was like, and I was in Sunday Company at the time. I was like, this is awesome. I'm so excited. And I went in and I did this insane thing. And this pilot never even got picked up. But I did this insane character. And afterwards she goes, okay, that was great. Let's try it again. Can you just try it and just be you for this one? Just be you. And in my mind, I was thinking, like, what are you talking about? Just be me. That's not going to work.
That's not interesting. What are you talking about?
Then later in life, not later in life, like 6 months later, I was like, oh, yeah, I was terrible. I came in as a character. I was like, this is in the 1980s. I can't play I have to like be an actor. I have to like try and be this person.
I have to be believable for this. Like, was it like a single cam, or what did you say it was for?
It was a single cam. It was for, I want to say it was for like one of the big networks.
Yeah.
And she's like, she loves to cast like real people too, So it's
like very subtle.
Yeah. And I just really shit the bed. Hard.
You're
it was like
okay.
my first like big audition I'd ever had, and I thought I was gonna nail it.
Like, I got this.
When
I
you
got
walked
this in the
out,
bag.
did you feel like you nailed it?
No, because I knew as soon as she went, okay, let's try that a different way.
The question is, have you ever gone back in for her since then?
No, I don't do a lot of comedy, surprisingly.
Really?
Yeah, I work almost exclusively doing drama.
That's
which is really crazy.
That is crazy because you're so hilarious. But
Thank
not to say that because that doesn't mean that you can't do drama. I just mean like you are so funny.
I appreciate. Yeah, thank you. I would love to do more comedy. I think it's just everyone's career goes in different ways.
Oh, for sure.
Right.
And that's just sort of the way that mine went.
But it's also where it's at. Where you don't know
right
where.
now.
Yeah.
I'm hoping that like it's going to be an opposite Bryan Cranston.
Yes.
Where I'm going to do like a bunch of smaller dramatic stuff and maybe like one thing where I'll play like a dad on a drama.
Right.
And then I'll get like the best comedy of all time.
And then they'll have a show after you.
Yeah,
yes.
exactly. Yeah. So that's my hope. That would be the dream, but I'm not going to hold my breath on that specific thing. I'm happy to work.
That's amazing. That's awesome.
I love that. And you mentioned earlier that Will Ferrell at the time before you chose the Groundlings was, it for you.
Oh yeah. I mean,
did you watch his SNL audition?
I did. It's so good.
It's so good.
He I think sort of personified what comedy was for me.
Yeah.
In high school and right after high school. I mean, Talladega Nights is like one of my favorite movies of all time.
That's awesome.
Being from the South and then also liking Will Ferrell. And then, of course, Anchorman and Step Brothers.
I love Step Brothers.
I saw it for the first time.
Good. Really?
She showed Step Brothers.
I was like, have you ever seen Step Brothers? He's like, no. He's like, I'm like, what?
It's so good.
I own it. So I'm like, we are watching this
and
right
John
now.
C. Reilly's.
He's
amazing. One of my favorite scenes.
Boats and Hoes. Come on now.
And I could be wrong about the movie, but my favorite scene is whenever they're singing that song in the car.
Which one?
You got a smile that'll share the light.
Oh yeah, but that's the jerk asshole brother.
Yeah. When the family they're singing,
in the range and they're singing
name?
that song. Oh, I forget.
Adam Scott.
Adam Scott.
Yeah,
that scene for me was amazing.
The whole family. Yeah,
the whole family. And whenever she's like messing it up, and he's like, "Can you believe that?" That got me. For whatever reason, but that's a good movie.
And he's sort of the opposite. I watched an interview with him that was saying that he mostly did dramatic training and then he just only does comedy.
Isn't that funny?
And then John Hamm's also that same way.
Oh, God,
all he wanted to do was comedy, and then he only did drama.
And he's on Baby Driver and like
so
and
good.
He's Mad Men. I mean, and he's so good as Don Draper.
Yeah,
like one of the best characters in television history.
Hey man, you never know what that's what's so interesting. I think when we come into this business, you think about like you have plans, right? And there's a lot of things that you can do, but you never know the way the cookie's going to crumble.
Exactly.
And enjoy what you get. I think if you like acting, you should like all of it. And
right.
That's my opinion. I know some people will disagree, but you should be able to like all of it.
Yeah, you're telling stories.
Yeah,
however they may be, or personifying a character and bringing life to words on a page.
Exactly. And there's some things to it where you obviously want to do more or less or whatever, but I get that, but enjoy it. Enjoy the process.
Yeah.
And there's this weird thing too that I don't know if you went through this, but whenever I first started acting, there was this like, I don't want to be pigeonholed. It's like this weird thought of like, I don't want to be that in that role. And at the time, looking back, I'm like, you should have taken any role. Like you should have built your resume for any job at the time instead of feeling like you don't want to be seen one way or another.
Right.
Because the careers are so, they can change and morph.
I sort of have the opposite problem, which is and this was like a big thing for me. I've booked so many different things that I think a lot of casting directors don't know what to do with me. Because like I've played murderers, I've played drug dealers, I've played NASA scientists, I played,
That's awesome.
So I've done I played Liberace, like I've done like all these different things, and I think some people are just like, I just don't know, or like this casting director thinks I'm great for nerds, but they've never seen me play this other thing, and so I don't get to go in for that. So that's like, it's a catch-22 either way. It's like either you're pigeonholed and it's like, I can't get out of doing this thing, or you're like, they don't see me
as one thing or
another.
Yeah, it's like almost like you're too specific or not specific enough.
Yeah,
it's a thing, and that's another thing that's crazy. It's like, and sometimes it's your essence. Sometimes it's like a race thing, like a cultural thing. Like I've talked about on the show how sometimes I'm not Latina enough.
Because of her light eyes.
Sucks. That's
it's like because they have an idea of what that is, or even like in certain classes, like they're like, well, you're Latina, like be sassy and saucy and feisty and spicy, and I'm like, all right. I mean, I guess.
Yeah, and I have a huge problem with that. I think that's, and I can't say if it's changing because I'm like a straight white man, but I hope that it is. I hope that stuff's gonna change because it's.
Yeah, I hope so too.
It's crazy to think that like you have to do a thing if you look a certain way or whatever.
Yeah, or you don't look a certain way, so you can't do that thing.
Yeah,
it's
it's weird. I don't know.
It goes back to no imagination thing. It's like there shouldn't be, like we talk a lot about, even sometimes the roles that are available for Nod often can be that one idea of what her character should be, which is sassy, spicy, like she was talking about. But it's like it could also be just a normal person who has no accent going throughout a normal day.
A well-adjusted human being.
Yeah, hello.
Totally.
Yeah, but that's what I mean. Is like I hope that that's going to change.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
I firmly believe too that it comes down to creating your own stuff. Like
I think so. I actually really agree with that. I look at like Insecure and things like that where that was a web series.
Yeah.
Yeah, Awkward Black Girl.
Yeah, it's and you look at that stuff and you go, "Oh, what an impact that's made."
Huge.
It's incredible.
Right.
I think you're 100% correct. Make your own stuff.
Write the roles for yourself that you want to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, honestly, it's like...
And for me, I find that it keeps me busy. It keeps the creative part of me, addressed. Because often, as an actor, you're doing it like 10% of the time. Unless you're...
Yeah, if you're lucky.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you got to put yourself in positions to be inspired, to learn new things, to be on camera or in front of an audience in order to do the thing that you fell in love with. So it's like, for me, creating that stuff is like where it's at. Yeah. Because someone will give you a job or not for whatever reason, but for you to be able to get up and make that role for yourself or, write that thing, do it, put it out there, I think that's an exciting time we're in.
So I coach an all girls improv and sketch group, and that was like my big advice to them because they were all from the Groundlings and sort of waiting for advanced lab and this thing. And my big advice to them was, great, you're waiting for this thing. And this kind of touches back on what we were talking about before. It's like, great, you're waiting for this thing, but let's try and get to a point where when that time comes, you don't need it.
Yeah.
Because you've created your own content now. And so people are going to be knocking on your door to make stuff for their thing or this thing or whatever, And I think that's something that's different now than when I was going through too. But if I were going through now, that's something that I would want to do is really create content, because you want to be on your own show. You want to be on this thing. But, let's say you want to be on The Walking Dead. It's like, that's great. But if you get that audition, you want to be able to go, oh, I can't because I'm shooting my movie.
Because guess what? I'm shooting this thing that I'm writing and producing.
Exactly.
Is there stuff that do you feel like you're doing that now? Like aside from auditioning and stuff?
I was pitching a pilot for a while, and then I just started pitching another pilot this year.
Okay,
that's awesome.
Do you write alone? Do you have a writing partner?
I've done both. So there's one guy that I write with named Bobby Quinn Rice, and we have a pilot that you know him.
Yeah, I think we took either a class at Leslie Kahn or something. It was one of those like acting classes together. I'm pretty sure.
He's a super sweet guy.
Yeah.
He just had a baby.
Yeah.
He gets it. We've written several things together. A couple things picked up some steam, and then just they fizzled out. And then lately I've been writing on my own, just because I have managers that are like more willing to pitch stuff. I think if it's just me, because they don't rep him too.
Of course.
There's always that thing, but.
That makes sense. I mean, they're repping you, so it's like, okay, like how do we package you and what you're doing too, since we don't have any control over that other stuff.
Yeah, so that's sort of where I'm at with that stuff, and I love writing, but I don't consider myself like a writer.
Right.
Like I would like to write my own show, but I don't know about being in a writer's room.
Same.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Totally.
Unless it was something that I was like gung ho, like yes, let's do this.
And also, can I be in it?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Right.
that's the hard part is can I do this?
Yeah.
Because I like the acting portion of it.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And do you feel like your time at Groundlings has helped with the writing aspect, or do you feel like it's two different
I think it did.
versions?
I think it did, and then I think it had to change.
Yeah.
Because I think sketch is sketch.
Yep.
But it's also it's very branded for what that place is.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? And I think that in order to come out as an individual after the fact, you have to at least be able to go, well, now I have to create this brand of what I do.
Right.
That's separate from that thing. So I think it was, yes, it did help for a while in terms of like I was getting reps in when I was doing Sunday Company. We would write, I probably wrote 40 pages a week.
Oh, God, that's a lot of writing.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot. And it's a full-time job. You're writing so much. And then when I got out, I was like, okay, what do I do? And I just kept writing, which eventually that had to change. That was some of the biggest critiques that I got early on was, this feels like a bunch of sketches strung together for a narrative. Instead of going you need like a big arc. So this 36 pages needs to have its own arc instead of each individual scene having.
Like, how do I heighten these next 3 pages?
Yeah.
Like constantly.
Yeah. So that was like kind of what my writing was like in the beginning. And then it's since then changed.
That's awesome.
And then people were like, oh, this is much better.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that though, because it's like you haven't been shy to do something that's outside of your comfort zone or not, because I feel like for myself and even for some people that I know, it's like I think there's this struggle with actors and artists where it's like waiting to get it right to do anything.
Yeah.
It's like if you had waited to say, well, I'm not really a writer, I've written sketches and I did it a ton, but I don't like have formal like training in how to write a pilot, but you did it, and it's like you just put it out there.
Yeah, so I have that issue with putting it out there sometimes.
Yeah.
Which is bad, and I know it's really bad, and that just like goes into my own, self-deprecating anxiety and things like that.
Yeah.
Where I don't want it to be bad. I just,
Like you want it to be good right out the gate. I know, I struggle with that so bad.
Yeah, and it is really bad to do that. And that was like one of the reasons why I started just doing impressions. Like, if they're bad, they're bad. Who cares? It's on Instagram. Like,
Right.
no one really cares.
It's so digestible.
It's 30 seconds of your life. You don't need to get that back.
You can have it.
Yeah. So that but you can't just like put stuff out there, or you can just put stuff out there, and people will either like it or they don't. And if they don't, then it's like, okay, move on.
Have you dealt with that anxiety your whole career?
Yeah, I'm sort of like, I am an anxious person in general, which is like, that's probably my biggest struggle as an actor in general. It's just like being anxious with, my work and wanting it to be so good.
So precious.
And then it backfires, because you can't be your best if you're worried about being your best.
And getting it right and doing it perfect.
Yeah, and I, have recently been getting rid of that, which I think has been better through helping myself and, treating myself to, things like that. But
Putting yourself out there more.
putting myself out there more and,
It's like I feel like one of the things Preston's been helping me through, and I know we both kind of struggle with it to some. I have more debilitating, I would say, fear of failure or this perfectionist mentality to just life in general.
We call it good student.
Yeah, I have the good student mentality where it's like,
Yeah.
even at Groundlings, that was some of my biggest notes from Navarez. He was like, what are you doing? Who are you?
And you're
I want to see
who do you want me to be?
what's your,
Yeah.
and I'm like, but, and
just tell me what to do and I can get it right.
just he literally
Exactly.
for one
How
of
do
my,
I pass?
for one of my evaluations or mid
Midterm.
evals, he's like, do you want to be here? Are you having fun?
yeah.
And it would be this thing where I'm like, am I getting it right? Am I getting it right? It wasn't until I stopped. But it does this with anything, even whether it was there or, I've been doing some open mics and I'm just been putting it off because I'm like, oh, I got to sit with my stuff and I got to make sure that I know what I'm going to. And he's like, just go.
Yeah, just try
go.
it.
Yeah. Just put yourself out there.
I do well in front of strangers. That's where I do my best.
That's where you shine.
Because there's no pressure to that. Because
So
I
where
know
Totally.
I can walk away and I will maybe never see them again. And if they see me in a supermarket, I don't know that because I couldn't see them. They were in the dark.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? So I can walk away going I'm never going to think about that. But it's when people that I know are going to be there. I used to never tell people when I was doing shows.
Because you didn't want them to come.
I
I don't want
struggle
them
with
to
that.
come.
I struggle with
don't
that.
come. Don't come to my show because then I'm going to,
No, you're
What if
there.
I
I'm
mess
gonna
up?
know you're there.
What if I
Yeah.
mess up and it all
And you always know when they like it and when they don't. You know, it's that thing
Totally.
afterwards.
good.
They're like,
It was
yeah, it was
good."
so good. That was, good job.
thanks
Like-
for
Are
bringing
you
me.
hungry?
And then you're
Yeah,
driving
exactly.
You want to go grab some food or a beer or something?
Actually,
You're
no, I'm
like,
gonna go throw up now. Thanks.
Yeah, you're I feel like laying in my bed for a week,
I'll call you later.
Yeah, and so that's always, for me at least, it was easier to just be like, if I don't have to see you, I'm fine. But when you do put stuff out there on social media now, it's all of that's the only people that are going to see it.
I know all your friends.
I know.
And then they have likes too. So
now you get to be like,
this
did they like
whole
it?
Other anxieties how many likes did this thing get?
Exactly.
Which is crazy. Who cares?
I know it's so bad.
There's studies that it releases dopamine.
Yeah.
That getting that likes is it actually affects you.
I read a study
crazy.
that it was just the dings on your phone releases dopamine.
Just
Like,
put a
just
timer.
that.
Just put a timer and a sound, man.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no,
Get that
we know.
dopamine hit.
I'm like, if you're
But then you look.
I'm not
and
fooling
nothing's
myself.
there.
It's just
There.
a timer,
Or
damn it.
We've all done that where our phone's gone off and you're like, yes. And you look and it's some dumb email from
Dude.
Totally.
Best Buy and you're like, ah.
Literally, do you know how the texts come in when you have a commercial audition? It's like the 410.
Yeah,
Do you
yeah,
get that? So I had this amazing callback Monday or Tuesday, what day it was, and I was like, man, they didn't bring a lot of people back. I felt like it went really great. I was like, oh, wouldn't it be awesome if I just got put on a fail for this? I want to book this so bad. And the next day rolled around. I'm like, oh, well, they still have time. And then the next day rolled back.
Oh, yeah.
And then today I got a text. It was like 410. When it was like, oh my God, do I have an audition? It was like the freaking pharmacy telling me my freaking medicine was ready for pickup. I was like, why do they have this 410 number?
Yeah.
I've
Change
never been
it.
so mad at advertisers whenever that comes through and
Yeah.
you're expecting something big. And you're like, oh, Best Buy, I don't need you right now. I need that gig.
I went through it for 3 months with a show that I got put on hold for.
Oh, what?
Oh
For
my
3
gosh.
months. And it was shooting out of the country. It was shooting in Romania. And I was so excited about it. I was like, this is it. I was
This would be amazing.
it was
Here we go.
game changer, right? It's 8 episodes. You're booked
Wow.
for 8. It's not a series regular, but it was a recurring guest.
Yeah, and you're in
So I was like,
Romania.
this is awesome. I'm gonna go see Europe. My days off, I'm gonna go to other countries. You're
You're
planning all
planning.
these things.
Yeah.
And for 3 months, they had me on hold. So every time I was getting an email, for 3 months, I'm just looking. And then at 2 months, you're just like,
You're like, is this
completely
even happening?
despondent.
Yeah.
You're like, you're not a human anymore.
People are reaching out. You're not even responding.
No
You're like,
paperless post. I don't even care.
There was like a point where I was like, I'm going to turn my phone off for a whole day. But it's like, there's that anxiety that comes along with this stuff. Where like, you just want it so bad. And like I guess you shouldn't, but like, that's like, telling someone not to be hungry.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, well,
you're human.
Yeah. Well, you're on a diet. You shouldn't want to eat more. It's like, so don't want to. It's like, no.
It's not that easy.
Get out of here.
It's easier said than done.
Yeah.
It is weird. It's this weird balance that's also read in the room. Whenever you're really excited or you really want something, often there's this like weird like, well, we don't want to give it to him because he wants it, and it's like,
it's weird. I worked as a reader for a casting director for a couple years.
Oh, nice.
And I learned so much.
I was
going to
ask you, did you learn?
Yeah, I learned. Well, I was reading opposite like fantastic actors.
awesome.
And so that was like a huge learning curve.
What was your
for
biggest
me.
lesson that you learned that you think, or takeaways?
You don't have to do as much as you think you do.
Yeah.
You just have to do enough to be human, which is like, it sounds like dumb, but it's true. Like, I think we all, when we get a script, we like to break it down and go like, this is my big moment. This is the thing. It's like, just be human.
Right.
Like, yeah, that's a big moment, but like, how would a human do that?
Right.
No, that's
That was like the big takeaway. Where it was like, oh, and people always say like, don't bullshit, don't be the actor, but like, it is true. Like, those are the best auditions.
I have a friend who's like, and she did an open mic with me today. I love her. Like, I almost wanted to text her on the way home to be like, hey, have you ever done therapy? Like, can you refer? And if you haven't, like, great.
Yeah.
But if you have, she's so well adjusted. And maybe it's taken her time. She worked as a child. And I respect her so much because she's just always like, girl, just do you. Like, you know what?
Yeah.
Like you need to go in there and be like, you need to make it your own. Fuck all this. Like, you need to be this character and you need to do all this stuff. And that works for her. I mean, she works all the time.
Yeah.
Like, I'm talking like, she is like on every show right now, like working all day long. But it's just because I was talking to her and I'm like, so like when you do coach with somebody, like what is your takeaway if you feel like you're just kind of like doing your own thing? She was just like, no, I always like to coach sometimes for certain things because they might be able to see something in the script that I would have never seen.
Yeah.
And I can consider it. And even with that, she like makes it her own, where I'm like, okay, how do
They told me
you
to do
think
it
I
this
should do it
way.
like this? Oh, I should do. You know what I mean? And it's like,
you overanalyze.
it's like I need
Yeah.
to shake it off.
Yeah, that's like when I started to realize, and I started like to book more, is when I was going, oh, I just have to be a human.
Yeah.
I have to figure this thing out, and like, how does this human deal with this thing? Which is like, that's what like acting is, but we don't. We're so like, we want it so bad that we go in and we try to do it better than everyone else.
Yeah, we want to be so interesting, right?
Yeah, and I think that's like the breakdown of like what's bad about auditions in general is
Right.
that it is treated in this way of you have to be better than everyone else who went in for that part, which is not true. You just have to be the person that's right for that part.
Yeah,
Totally.
That makes sense.
And that was like the big takeaway.
One of my favorite acting coaches, she would have us do same scenes.
Yeah.
And, after work, so the way that she would set up her class is you would do the scene like how you prepared it.
Oh yeah.
And then she would work with you, with each person. And then at the end of the night, you would do it again with, the notes and the work that you put in through the class. And then she would put them side by side. And it was a noticeable, you can watch everyone who did the work was just different.
Yeah.
No one was better or wow, that was an incredible scene. It was, oh, that is cool. That's an interesting perspective.
Yeah.
And whenever I, like viscerally saw that and felt what it was like to be like, oh, they're really just looking for how is this perspective going to match the
This
story?
person. Yeah.
Yeah. And so whenever that happened, we talk a lot in the Groundlings, but also in improv about gray space, like being at the point where you're kind of stretching yourself, where you're stepping out and waiting for the bridge to appear,
Right.
like making strong choices and stuff like that. That's what I feel like for me works so great when I do it, and not great when I don't do it, is whenever I prepare just enough to be so familiar, but also unfamiliar.
You know why I think that works? And this is just my opinion.
Yeah.
I think it's because you listen more.
Totally.
When like you're not waiting to say each line the way that
Right.
you have planned to say it.
Right.
And I know this as a reader, there were times where I would say something because I'm, reading for this character's part and I'm trying to give a little bit, but not too much. I don't want to
Right.
We've all had that reader where we're like, whoa.
Are you
Are you
we in a scene
auditioning?
study
You're not
class right
on
now? What's
camera.
happening?
What's happening? Why
You're
are
like, I don't
you
even
crying?
need the script.
Yeah.
Like, I'm just eye contact.
Why was there silence?
I literally had one where I had a reader cry. And I was
No.
like, stop. Stop. Like,
Unreal.
no, I don't want you to do that. Like,
Do you need a
appreciate
minute?
it. I appreciate it, but I don't. But I do think that there is that thing where like you
Oh,
have to be able to
no.
listen because what you're hearing is what they're hearing on the other side of the camera,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we've all had like both sides of that where you've had the casting director who's reading the lines, yes, Jimmy, and then what do you do next? We've had that casting director.
Or like I had a casting director that literally, I don't know if I said this to like a friend, but not on the podcast, that literally turned on the TV while she was completely off books. She knew the lines and started watching the news like in front of in the middle of my scene.
Yeah,
Unreal.
we've all had those things.
I'm like,
and was it on tape?
yeah.
Yeah, so that's the thing is like you have to be prepared for
Yeah.
both,
Yeah.
but like you have to just listen.
And that's such a crazy, if you're listening to this and you have nothing to do with acting, but you just love TV and film and you're going, what? That's so simple. Be a person and listen. But the truth is
It's hard.
It's so
It's
hard.
hard.
Because you're like, you get caught up in even wanting to be the best, but also not
Just
wanting
getting the line right.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally.
I mean, like I said, I've played like the computer guy.
Yeah.
I've played the NASA analyst.
So
I've
you had
like,
that
some
jargon.
lines,
Yeah.
like the quad core processor's rendering isn't so fluid right now. And it's like, what?
And you got to own it too. You got to
and
sound like you know what you're saying.
You have to like land on it, but you can't like I know what this is. Like
Right.
everyone is familiar with these words, right? And then you're listening to other people talk that back to you. It's like that becomes hard.
Totally.
That's
and-
amazing.
And so there are times where you're listening to stuff and you're going, but you don't know anything of what they're talking about, especially through the audition process.
oh God.
Yeah,
I'm
because
sure.
usually you'll get just a couple of sides.
Yeah.
And you won't get the whole story.
So if you're not an actor and you're listening to this, it's harder than you think.
Yes.
Exactly. Do
Because
yourself
people all
a
day
favor.
long are like, I can do that. That's easy.
Yeah.
It's like,
And maybe you can. I don't
Maybe you
know.
can.
Maybe
Knock
you
yourself
can, and you
out.
should be doing it. What you can do to test is,
Try it.
print out something, record yourself, and then show it to your friends.
Yeah. And are they laughing? 'Cause-
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Are they looking at you and saying, "Hey, let's go eat,"
Yeah.
or are they saying, "Let's do it"?
Are they going, man, I never knew. I never knew. Or are they going,
Wow.
yeah, wow, that was great. That was so good. Yeah. I don't know. Be a person and listen, I guess.
Isn't it
That's the big
interesting
thing.
that the work of an actor can be, it is in front of people, for people,
Yeah.
to take a journey with you through that story, whatever, to be entertained for that hour. But it is such an internal battle for the artist, for the actor.
Yeah.
It's such a personal, internal thing to just share, a little bit of my experiences. I, growing up, was like way overweight. Like I was considered obese for a long time. Lost 90 pounds under her tutelage. We've shared this before, but so what's interesting is often comedy stuff would come natural, but I would fight it because I was overweight and I didn't want to be. So if someone were to say to me, Preston, hey, that was really funny, I would go, oh, I'm the fat guy. So it had nothing to do with actual, hey, you made me laugh or that was entertaining. So I would push against it. So literally for a long time, I'd be like, well, no, I can do other stuff too. I'm not just a, funny dude.
Not just a funny guy.
And it wasn't until I did personal work, losing weight and then feeling the same, where I was like, oh man, I got to do some internal work on seeing myself,
Right.
that I can start to go, oh, when they say you're funny, it has nothing to do with your size. And like, that was my experience, but that's certainly not other people's experience. So it's like, it's such a personal journey for someone to be able to embrace the parts of them that are
Unique.
Yeah, and I think there's something inherently true about that in general, where But it is, nothing's really going to change until you look inside of what's going on.
Yeah, for sure.
And like that is such a huge message to anyone who is listening to this or whatever. But like you're fine. Like however you are, you're fine. And if you're sad, like please work on that. Like talk to people.
Yeah, like get help.
Whatever.
I love therapy, man. We found therapy whenever we were just about to get married. We went to just make sure all the cogs were working, and I was like, oh, why don't we do this? Why doesn't everyone do this?
Yeah, and I think it's important to just like look at those things and go, let's figure it out, because you will get the things, and it's whether it's if you're pursuing acting, it's like I want to book that commercial, and then you do, and then it goes, okay, well now I want to do this next thing.
It's always that.
Like, there's always those things, like whatever that thing is, whether it's I want to lose 10 pounds, and then you lose the 10 pounds, and it's like this, or I want to gain some muscle, and it's like then you gain the muscle. It's like but
next
that confidence, like those, it's all things that we should be working on in general.
Yeah, because if not, like you're kind of left to the peril of like the industry and people, and like the people that are what we think are in charge of like our destiny or whatever else.
And 90% of the time they're wrong.
Yeah.
Right.
Like,
and they don't know what they want.
Yeah, it's so true.
One of my favorite advice from a friend of ours who works a lot, she was like, she'll go into an audition and they'll be like, okay, this is what we're looking for. And if she's reading, whatever the script or the copy, if she's doing commercials, she'll go, well, this is what I believe as an artist they're after, but they didn't write it as such.
Yeah.
So she'll do that. So even if it's like, hey, we want like quiet, she'll come in if she feels like it's opposite and code loud, and they'll be like, yeah, that's exactly what we wanted. And it's sometimes opposite of the note, and it's just proof that not everyone knows exactly what they're looking for until they see it.
And I stopped reading when you get the breakdown for a character, I stopped reading it.
Yeah.
Because I never booked when I tried to hit that.
Because it's sometimes they're even contradictory.
Yeah,
like,
totally.
You'll get the scene and you'll go, wait, you want me to be quiet? But there's literally a line
exclamation
in all
marks.
caps.
I know.
Like, what did you want? And so you have to like find those things that you think work. Like Christopher Walken really is like a genius of that thing.
Oh, totally.
Where like no one was ever imagining that guy as the thing.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Until
yeah.
he became what he was. But like he's a master. Like I watched something that he did, maybe it was Inside the Actor Studio, where he gets rid of all of the punctuation.
Oh, no way.
Before
It's purposed.
Yeah, a lot of it's purposeful.
Oh, wow.
Because he doesn't want to, he wants it to be like a free thought. And that was like his mindset with it, was it has to be like a free thought.
That makes sense.
Right. Because sometimes we try to like even like add, like if it's ... he's like, okay, right now I need to be like, because I whatever. And it's just like, you stop yourself. You can censor yourself or as an actor, I think.
Yeah.
Totally. And whenever you start getting in your head about it and you start overanalyzing, I think that puts you in a position where you're not able to be a vessel in that moment, free of thought.
Well, you're no longer thinking as the character, you're thinking as yourself.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Which like reads. It's
totally.
weird.
It's like, they talk about the life behind, the eyes in an audition and stuff like that. It totally can come across as I'm thinking of how I should be acting versus I'm experiencing this moment.
Yeah, we have a thing in improv where we say, and this is just like if you're thinking while you're supposed to be paying attention.
Right.
If you're looking up or down, you're dead. If you're looking to heaven or hell, that means you're dead.
Right? Yes.
So don't look up, don't look down, right? Just look forward.
I love that.
Then you know where you're going if you're looking forward.
I love that.
But if you're looking up or you're looking down, you're dead. You're walking across the street and you're going to get hit by a bus.
Great.
So like that's the best advice in improv, but it's also like kind of true metaphor for life, But,
oh, totally.
I even equate it to, whenever you're supposed to be looking into the eyes of your partner, your improv partner, that looking forward, connecting is such a simple note that you learn in basic, but it's life-changing if you embrace it.
I think that's the best note that improv can give you as an actor.
Yeah.
Is to like really hone in on the other person and treat them like a live wild animal, and you don't know what they're going to do.
Right.
Exactly.
All the time. Because that's how life is.
100%.
You don't know what the person in front of you is going to say or do at any given moment.
Yeah, and then like there's
Exactly.
also like a level of that with acting where you go, oh, even in extreme comfortability, you
Right.
know,
Mm-hmm.
then you see that thing shift, and then the scene happens or it starts to happen. You go, oh, now the eye contact happened, you know?
Yeah.
Because now I don't know, I'm confused. What's, you know, so eye contact is actually like one of the biggest things. It's so huge.
It
It's
is so huge. And for a long time, you know, like going through the courses, I would be like, in my mind, I would think that I would be connecting. I would
Yeah.
think that
I am looking at you.
I'm looking at you.
But I'm not connected at all.
And there was this exercise that I did once that was kind of like you know how you learn something and then there's a moment where it hits you?
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you're exposed to it, you understand it intellectually, and then there's a moment where it's visceral. And then
Yes.
all of a sudden, you know, the stars align and it makes sense, and now you can move forward with that knowledge. For me, it happened in a simple scene where I was struggling, thinking all too hard, like way too hard, totally in my head about it. And it was the note at the time was given to me to literally not even say anything, but just focus on the person
Yeah.
and then do the action, right? And that moment, whenever I didn't care at all what I was going to say, but
Right.
just wanted to know what they were going to say, was the visceral change of you can get lost in performing and not care about what you look
Yeah.
like, and it's so much better.
It's easier.
It's so much better.
Yeah.
Do you feel like you still have, because you've been doing improv for how long now? A long
15
time.
years?
Awesome.
Do you still, like, do you still love it like you did?
Yeah, my love for it has changed, in the sense that I think when I first started, I loved being funny and I loved the attention
Right.
because I was 15 years old,
Right.
you know. And now I think I like the art of it, and I don't care if people laugh anymore.
Yeah.
Like there's times where like I did a 2-person show with Ian Gary. Do you guys know Ian Gary or Drew Talbert?
Yes.
I did a 2-person show with Drew Talbert, and some of my favorite moments were because we would do like 30-minute sets, and it was just us two. It was just sitting there in between thoughts. Where you're going, I have nothing left. You have nothing left? Okay, great. Well, we're just gonna sit, and the audience has no idea what's coming up next, and then inevitably that line would come.
Of
But
course.
I like the idea of that thing of just sitting.
It's like almost the unpredictable and not caring to like
Yeah, well, it like
cause.
art becomes life in
Yeah.
a weird
Right.
way. Where we've all been in that situation where you're talking and then you run out.
Of
And
course.
Okay.
So
and then like that times 10 of being on stage and having to appease
with the
an
full
audience.
house, of course, of course.
And then like that thing like shifts somehow where you go like, I don't care if they're waiting,
Yeah.
you know? And then like, so it, like my love has changed for it, where like now that's what I like about it. Like doing short form and stuff is really fun. And I love like doing the Bad Company show and those things, which I'm
Yeah.
sure that's probably like where you guys have come to see shows that I've done. But I like the other aspects of it. I love the other aspects of it more.
do you do shows? Do you do other shows around town, or are you strictly do shows at Groundlings?
I haven't been because around September last year, I started working on a show, and then I kind of fell off of doing improv for a while. But I'm
Okay.
actually probably going to start doing another show soon that I'm kind of developing the idea for.
No,
Nice.
that's awesome. That's
might
exciting.
be half podcast, half live show. I don't know. I don't know. It's like I'd be interviewing someone that I haven't seen or talked to in a while for about 10, 15 minutes, and then I do about 20 minutes of improv with just that person
I love that.
That's awesome.
based on what we talked about, just catching up.
It's
Oh,
so
I
funny
love
because
that. That's a great idea.
I thought like
No
for-
one listening can take that.
Yeah, you
It's
can't
in
take it. It's
development.
mine.
It's
or if
his.
you do, like,
Good luck trying to do it
Yeah.
better. Just kidding. Just kidding.
very nice of you.
Yeah.
Yep. That's cool though. That's great.
Yeah.
You've been busy, and now it's like, okay, now you're trying to do this other
Yeah.
this other thing, and so it's good how all these things are kind of like
Feeding
you're
each other.
pulling from. Yeah, you're like
Yeah.
pulling from them now, and
I think like the idea is just to get to a place, at least for me, where when you're not busy, you can still do other stuff.
yeah,
Totally.
And then that keeps you busy until you get busy again. Because no one works all the time.
Right.
And if you do, like, then you're just at a different level, but that's great.
and that's great, and that's probably will have its own set of like
totally like
issues.
exhaustion.
Yeah, then it's like press things, and then that's all stuff that you don't want to
Yeah.
have to do, but you have to do, and
Part of the job.
Yeah, it's your job, but it's also, yeah.
That's all. Is your so you said you were married, right?
Yes.
Is your wife in the industry?
Yeah, she's a spokesperson for Papa Murphy's Pizza.
Nice.
If you're from like the Pacific Northwest or pretty much anywhere else in the country.
You're like-
Except for here. That's the only place that they don't have them. But she's a spokesperson for them. She does a ton of, she just did a web series with Whitney Cummings. And
Yeah. Oh, no way.
She was in the Sunday Company also.
Is that where you guys met?
No, we went to rival high schools.
No way. Where did she go to high school?
She went to Diamond Bar High School.
So she's out kind of from like Fullerton area. No, Diamond Bar, I guess.
Close to Brea and Chino Hills and I'm trying to think of another place. Like Covina, like that area.
Then how did you guys meet?
So my old roommate was really good friends with her brother.
Okay.
And her brother is a playwright. He's a performance artist. But he wrote a play, and my roommate was in it, and she was in it, and so they met up, and they were in the first level of Groundlings together separately, and so we got introduced via my friend Michael, which
nice.
is very strange.
What an
How
awesome
random.
web.
How random.
Yeah, but we didn't know each other in high school, but we found out later that we had so many mutual friends.
Isn't that crazy?
Isn't it weird?
That's so
Yeah.
cool.
Wow, that's awesome.
That's what I love about being married to this one is we get to share this
Yeah.
experience of this crazy business.
It like has its challenges and it has its ups. In this sense, like you get to share that thing if you go, great, like yes, I know what you're going through. I can
Relate.
hopefully help just by like listening or knowing what
It feels like.
it feels like.
Yeah.
Then the other challenge of it is, sometimes you just want to vent and the other person's like, no, I know. So
Or they
there's,
want to
like,
fix it or give you answers.
yeah,
You're
exactly. Yeah. And I'm so bad at that. I'm always the person who's like, here's the answer.
Me too, man. I'm
like,
working
see,
on
what you
it.
need to
Yeah.
do is just don't look at it like that. You just got, it's funny.
Yeah, which
I'm
is
the
so
first
bad.
she'll have like a bad audition or something, and I'm the first to be like, look, you gotta set it, forget it. You did it. Now
Yeah.
on to the next. And literally it happens to me, and all I want to hear is, that sucks. That's
Yeah.
terrible. And then when she does the same, I'm like, oh, this is me times 10.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm like, I want to be alone.
Yeah.
Just don't talk to me. I
Or
don't want to talk
whatever.
about how it went.
Yeah. Or what, like everyone deals with it differently, but
Totally.
when the other person's dealing with it, you want to help them.
Of course.
And it's like,
Exactly.
you
Of
can't.
course.
And you just want solo time. you know?
Yeah. And Kelsey's very much like, I just want to talk. I want to like vent. And I'm like, right. Yeah. Yeah. No.
You should do this.
But you're doing so, like, look at all the other things that you're doing. Like, this is great, And it's like, that's not what you want to hear. So,
No, that's
Such
crazy.
a journey. So
Yeah.
where do you see your hopeful career going? Where do you see like the direction of your career?
I think working. That's like
For real.
That's honestly, I don't want to be too specific about it. I just want to work and have fun working and be around people that are like decent human beings.
Right.
It takes
You
a
know?
village.
'Cause, I mean, we've all worked on sets or in places where like you don't like everyone there, and we've all worked in places where
Yeah.
you like people there, and so I just would like the latter of I like these people.
Yeah, and it's even when you're creating your own stuff, that's the beauty of like networking and getting to know people and really being genuine,
Yeah,
because it's like you want to work with the people that you're friends with, and that everybody's kind of doing stuff. I don't know, we always talk about that. It's like you look at like Vince Vaughn and all those guys like that, they like have these films and they're like, I'll hire each other, and they're like go
Yeah,
to
I mean-
like an island and go like just have a vacation but work.
yeah,
Yeah.
That's honestly the dream.
That would be we say that too. Like wouldn't it be so cool to like produce stuff, create stuff, and then like work with
Yeah.
the friends that you think are funny and are like you would love to spend like
Yes.
3 weeks with, 4 weeks, 6 weeks with.
See, and I would love if a friend was able to produce and write and do all those things, and then just hire me to
Right?
And you're like, so if you're out there,
Yeah, so if anyone that I know is like wanting to hire me, just ask.
That's
Right.
the hardest thing, man, when you're doing your own stuff, because I've been putting together a short film and we do our own stuff. And
Yeah.
the hardest thing is finding the other side of the camera that wants it just as passionately as the friends that I have on the front side.
Yeah, it's hard.
we don't run in the same circles too. You know, they're on sets all day. You know, like doing the hard work, putting in for their career.
Whether it's DPing or editing or producing or whatever.
It like you said, it takes a village, and it's difficult, but
it's possible.
I think a lot of people do want to help and want to work, and it's just a matter of being patient and working with those people.
Yeah.
But that's the hard part is then you have to go, now I have to be patient with this person.
Yeah.
Where we all wish that we could just have the 50 million and go, I want it this way, done by this time, and then it's done.
And then we're good, right?
Yeah, and then we're good.
We're such control freaks when it comes to the hopes, right?
Right, yeah.
Now, we always ask all of our guests a handful of questions.
Okay.
5 questions, to be exact. Now, this would come easily to you. You can't, don't put too much time into it. It's not super crazy. Just first thought in your head. It doesn't even have to be the right answer.
Well,
it's like improv.
Right.
Okay, so the first question is, if you could be any animal, which animal would you be?
Living or extinct?
Hey, first time that's ever been asked.
Considering that's asked, extinct.
Okay, I would be a dinosaur. Awesome. I would probably be an allosaur.
Why?
What is an allosaur?
So it's like an early, like it was like a Jurassic predecessor to the T-Rex. So like a T-Rex, but with better arms.
Longer arms?
Yeah, longer arms. They didn't have the tiny arms.
You could do more for yourself?
Yeah, and that's probably what I would want to be.
Awesome.
Like
That's a first. That's great.
Yeah, I think that would be cool. I'm also listening to a book about that right now. I listen to books to help me sleep at night because I have like crazy insomnia. And so that's probably why that thought came into mind.
I love
the
that.
Subliminal allosaur.
Yeah, the
Dinosaur.
allosaur.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Number 2, if you could only eat one food for the rest of your life, what would it be?
Oh, okay. So I have 2 answers for this.
Awesome.
I just went vegetarian.
Nice.
Which that happened 4 months ago now.
Okay.
So pre that, it would have been like chicken fried steak with
that
like
is
mashed
good.
potatoes and gravy
yes.
and maybe like some steamed or fried okra or vegetables and things like that. That would be like before. Now, I don't know. I haven't.
I'm still trying to figure out this vegetarian thing.
I'm trying to figure out like what I want. Maybe like tacos. Like I love tacos.
You can do beans
or like they have like soy meat things that you can do.
Yeah, they have like jackfruit. Have you had jackfruit
Yeah,
tacos?
I love
jackfruit's
jackfruit.
great.
So I'll say that tentatively, and I could get more specific.
Right.
We'll
To
see
be
in a few
continued,
months.
maybe.
Yeah, to be continued.
How's that going?
I love it.
You feel better?
I do. I didn't for like a month. I felt like garbage for a month because I wasn't used to it, and I wasn't. I don't think I was eating the way that I should have been eating because I was just trying to eat.
Yeah.
Yeah, like anything.
Yeah, anything. And you get hungry like faster because you're not eating like heavy fats and
meats and stuff.
Yeah. But now I feel way better. I'm eating way more fruits and vegetables.
Good.
I think my vitamins are higher, I hope.
I'm sure. We'll see.
There's like some that you like actually have to like think about.
Go get some
like
blood
your
work.
B vitamins.
Oh, yeah, like your B12. Yeah.
You have to like think about that stuff and where you're getting it from. And, like, like chia seeds for certain things. Yeah. So
like a little bird.
I like it.
Awesome.
Short answer.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That was number 2, right? Or was that number 3? Number 3, celebrity crush.
Oh man. Ooh, that's like really, really difficult. Okay. Zoe Kravitz.
Oh,
Yeah.
she's awesome.
Yeah.
She is awesome.
I think she's beautiful
She
and
is.
so talented.
Yeah, she is. She's so great.
Numero
have,
4.
If you could have any superpower or be a superhero.
Time travel.
Yes.
Yeah.
What would you
this
do
isn't
with your time?
Yeah, I was going to say, where would you go? Or what time era would you go?
I'd be very careful to go to the past, but I would.
Thank you for all of us.
I would go to the past. I don't know what I would do. I feel like I'd have to be very careful.
Just observe.
Yeah, and maybe I'd
Yeah.
go to the future, and if it's great, stay there.
Right? Kind of like, what was that movie that we just saw where that old man...
Oh, the Avenger one where he.
Oh, yeah, it was
Oh,
that.
Endgame.
Yeah. It goes
Yeah.
back and then he lives his life or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he just
Captain
stayed there.
America.
He was like,
Spoiler.
Sorry,
Oh yeah,
y'all.
sorry. If you haven't seen that yet,
it, guys,
That's kind of on you. It's
yeah,
been out
like,
for a really long
listen,
time.
it's been out for
I
a
don't
long
even
time.
feel bad.
The fact that I even know, because I'm bad about watching stuff, is like, then that's on you.
Well, you were like, "What's that movie?"
We watched. Yeah, exactly.
That's my whole point.
We're like
if I
back,
knew-
I'm backfilling all of her like movies that she has missed her whole life.
Listen, I grew up in a Nicaraguan home where it literally was like Sábado Gigante, like I Love Lucy, The Three Stooges, and then like that's it. Like no movies, barely.
That sounds like a great upbringing.
Yeah,
though.
so
Totally.
I was like, what movie? What's that? No, I've never seen that. They're like,
I mean, it's great because
How
I
are
get
you
to
an actress?
relive
I'm like-
movies for the first time with her.
Yeah,
So-
and you want that. Have you seen Jurassic Park? It's my favorite movie of all
have
time.
not.
You should watch it.
It's amazing.
It holds up.
It
That's-
totally does.
I have to
Even
watch
the
it.
graphics hold up.
Yeah,
which
they're
makes
better.
me think, what's happening? How are we like regressing?
Because it was a mix. It was CGI and
Practical.
Practical.
awesome.
Anyway.
So last one, if you were not in this industry whatsoever, what would you love to do for work?
Okay, so that was a question that I was in an acting class, and it was the exercise for the first thing. And we had to like write a whole monologue for it, and I'll give like the beat points. I think I would do something nerdy, like I'd probably like do D&D, something to do with like D&D or something like that. Or I probably would have done something like being a paramedic, or I don't know if I could have been a firefighter. I don't think I have the like wherewithal to have gone through all the stuff that you have to
It's
do.
a lot.
It is a
Especially
lot.
in California, it's like really, really difficult.
Yes.
But something maybe like that. I never would have done police. Probably a paramedic. But I don't know. I probably would have left that at some point because you don't get paid that much.
You're like,
I
I,
know,
gotta
isn't that
make a living.
crazy?
I gotta buy a
It's
house.
really-
California's
yeah.
expensive, y'all.
Yeah, I don't know. So I'd probably do something nerdy and then something to help people.
Do you
Awesome.
currently do D&D?
I do.
Ah.
I'm in a campaign right now. This is
Nice.
really fun. Do you guys play D&D?
I have never.
I've never.
You'd like it. It's basically like board game improv.
Oh, awesome.
So it's like you can do whatever you want if you roll high enough.
Ah,
It's like kind of the fun.
great.
If it's like in your like little list of things you can do, and if
Pick
you roll
one.
high enough, you can pretty much do it.
That's awesome.
So it's like really fun. And then like we play like kind of as characters. I'm getting really nerdy right now.
That's awesome.
See, that's awesome. This would be probably so fun
It's
with people that are good
like
at.
people who are like, oh, that's nerdy. It's like just try it. It's actually really fun, especially if you have kids.
Oh,
Do
yeah.
it with kids because like it gets their imagination going so much.
That's good to know.
That's
Yeah,
awesome.
it's really fun.
That's
so
awesome.
I'd check it out.
Awesome.
Nice. Good to know. I've never played. I will give it a try.
You should.
You'll have to give us a breakdown of what that looks like.
Okay.
And then as we're winding down, my final bonus question is if you were looking at yourself when you first started, or someone who's listening who wants to be an actor or be in the entertainment world, what kind of advice would you give them or yourself?
Ask every question you have unapologetically.
I love that.
That's awesome.
Yeah, because I think we're often ashamed to ask a question because
Yeah.
we don't want to be perceived as dumb.
Right?
But
Yeah, I'm guilty of that even today.
yeah,
Yeah.
we don't want to be perceived as dumb, and some people may think you're acting dumb by asking questions, but you know, for lack of a better term, fuck them.
Right?
Yeah.
That's on
You know,
them.
because then they're an asshole.
Yeah.
If they're gonna judge you for asking a question, then fuck them.
It's like you don't have the
You know?
5 or the 30 seconds or however long it would take to just answer it.
Yeah,
Right?
It's like
Yeah.
no one was born with this shit. You know, like no
Yeah.
one was born knowing how to do this.
how to do
job
anything
Or anything.
We don't know how to do anything until someone teaches us.
It's such a weird thing because for the longest time, I would be in class and a lot of the people were always either had a theater background or study theater, and they would be like, all right, stage left, everybody, stage left. And I probably for like 2 years, like still,
Yeah.
like, was it like, I don't know what stage left is. Like I felt like an idiot for asking what is stage left, and I would try to figure it out. But I still like had such a hard time, or they'd be like, you know, stage right, or like don't upstage, and I just kind of like
You would
okay.
nod and
Yeah, but it's
Wait
just
till
like,
someone made a move.
You're
and then-
upstaging her.
Yes.
Okay, I don't. Or why
Yes,
are you
I
upstaging
am.
Nadia? And anyway, but
I felt
yes,
like my
I think
character
that
would
that's great.
upstage her.
yes,
So
Right?
stupid.
yeah, my character would make this movement on this stage.
My character would block the whole scene.
Yeah,
With the back.
it's so true though. It's like just ask,
Yeah.
ask everything, and you know, this is maybe why when I was working in the casting office that I did learn that people ask questions and it's okay.
I love that.
And even if there's so many times where you could just go, can I sit? And if they're like, no, then it's like, okay.
Yeah.
Or what, and
Okay.
a lot of like producers will be really great and they'll go, do you have any questions? That's their invitation to you. Don't act like you know everything. If you don't, if you're
Especially if you don't.
Yeah, if you're genuinely like, I don't get it at all. Just say like, I don't get it. Can you explain this person to me?
You're like, can you just give me like a whole breakdown right now?
Yeah.
No, but something.
They would
appreciate that more.
Totally. They're looking to fill the void. And if anything would help you to get there, like they're willing to do that. And I think that's great advice to end on.
Yay.
Ladies and gentlemen, ask the questions. There are no dumb questions.
No.
And if
don't
you
be
go
afraid
back
to
in
ask.
the past, be very careful, as we've learned.
Yes.
And try some D&D, y'all.
Yeah.
Give it a shot.
I mean,
have
come
some
on.
fun with a saxophone.
Have some fun, you guys. Give it a shot. Ladies and gentlemen, we did it again, babe. Thank you for joining us. Daniel, thank you so much.
Thank you so much
Thank
for
you,
coming,
guys.
We
Daniel.
appreciate your time. If someone listening wants to get connected to you, how do they do that?
You can look me up on Instagram. It's just my name, Daniel Robbins.
Awesome.
Go follow. Go check out his impressions.
Give him a
share.
like. Give him a suggestion. He's taking suggestions now.
I'm going to do a bunch of them in one day.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love it. And we'll let you guys
Awesome.
know whenever his project comes out too with the improv stuff he's working on.
And check out For All Mankind on Apple TV this fall.
Awesome.
Congrats on that.
Thank you.
You're
That's
welcome.
exciting. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll see you
out.
next week.
Peace out.